Welcome back to my YouTube page. And today I'm just going to be talking a little bit about creating new friends in new spaces or new circles in new spaces. I don't want to say friends because sometimes that can be taken the wrong way. But I just want to share a little bit about my experience in moving to Houston and how I've kind of been able to find a great group of people to kind of spend my time with and how enriching it's been since I've been here. So I grew up here in Houston. I went to middle school and high school here. So I know quite a few people. I have some people who I call my family who also live here. So moving back to Houston was kind of my safe space. I was living in DC for 12 or 13 years after going to college, working, going back to school, and then really having a very strong group of friends living in the district and in the DMV area. So it was very easy to find people to go out with, to find things to do. When I was bored or I just felt like I've been in the house too long, I could always just kind of get up and jump and call a friend and make moves in the city. And it was very convenient to do that while I was living in DC. And so when I moved to Houston, because I felt like I knew enough people to kind of have a similar experience, maybe not the same because Houston's so big, but I felt like, I knew enough people that, when the weekend came, I would have plans and, I would be invited to, certain people's life events. And, I just had a different expectation of Houston than when I got here and things started to kind of come together. So when I moved back and I decided where I wanted to live, there were a few people who I knew who lived in this area. But in reality, most of the people in my family or, people who I grew up with all lived in different parts of town. And so that, presented a challenge in itself because once I drove home after being out at work all day, it was like nobody's driving back to the city. So, having a son and, being a wife and being a mom and working full time, it kind of really only allowed me to have a little bit of free time really on the weekends. And even then that was really limited. And so before my son even got here, I decided to tap into, some areas and some organizations that really kind of were fulfilling to my passion. So, I'm very passionate about social justice and community organizing and just kind of being in a grassroots organization. So I reached out to an organization which was new to Houston called Houston Justice, and I met some amazing people there. Through this organization, I think that was probably one of the best decisions I made being in Houston. I think it really opened a door that I didn't even know existed. It put me in a place that I didn't even know I wanted to be. And so being a part of this organization, working with this organization, meeting all of these different people who are movers and shakers and, young and, like-minded just like me, really just allowed me to see that, the time that I do spend that's very limited, even though I'm spending with people who, I haven't known my entire life, it can be very enriching. Yeah. So, I realized like, okay, I can do this. This is okay. So, I started to get into a rhythm. Other things started to open up within this group of women and some men. And I found myself going places for a reason. I just wasn't going out because it was Friday night. I just wasn't going somewhere because it was the weekend. I just wasn't doing something because it was my friend. Everything I did really began to have a lot of meaning. And that was very powerful for me to really feel like the time that I spend away from my son is not wasted time. It's time actually spent doing something that means something to me and that will eventually help someone else. And so at this age, I have had friends that I've been very close with since my freshman year of college, and we've been together and gone through so much together. Like, I love them. They're literally like a second family to me. And then, I have friends that I know from high school I've been, really close with, not many, but a few. And so it's not like I feel like I don't need any friends. But in reality, I don't need friends who I talk to on the phone every day. Like, I have friends who I talk to on the phone every day. I have, cousins and a sister and all of these different people in my life But I don't need really people who just I can pick up the phone and say, "Hey, what are you doing? What's going on?" I don't need that. I've realized at this age and at this stage of my life, I need circles of people, circles of associates and different levels of people to tap into when I have something going on. And so I feel like coming to Houston was my safety, net, to coming to a place where I thought I knew a lot of people that I'd be very comfortable. And it ended up showing me that I had to create my own circle. I wasn't getting invited out to people's life events and, children's birthday parties, all these different kind of things. And that was okay. And I didn't take it as a negative. I just took it as, we just don't roll in the same circles. And I didn't really have a circle moving here. So I had to create my own. And even being in a place where you've been for a long time, you don't want to get so comfortable where you're constantly and consistently around the same people over and over and over. And not that you're not around movers and shakers and not that you're not around great people, but you want to make sure that you do have different levels of people in your life so that when you want to do something major, you can tap into those circles and get that support. Because sometimes people who are very close to you may not support you in the way that you want, but people who are kind of just know you a little bit, they know about your passion, they kind of are like-minded like you, they'll support you in things that other people may not. So when you're going to a new place, or you're in a space where you're looking for something new, you want to look for organizations and for people who align with your passion. So if you're passionate about social justice, if you're passionate about the environment, if you're passionate about fashion, whatever you're passionate about, find those organizations, find those people, and tap into those circles, and then create your circles and your layers and layers and layers of friends, that align with your passion. And when you do that, you'll find that your time is well spent when you step out of the door. You're not just going out just to hang out and waste money, but when you do go out and you spend $50, on dinner, you realize like the time that I spent with these people was not only worth it, it was well worth it because it was an investment into my passion. And I think that is something that just makes me feel really good every time I leave my Houston Women's Empowerment Brunch and I spent, a few hours of my Sunday there. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is well worth my time because it aligns with my passion. Another way that people create circles is through activities. So, if you're an avid runner, a biker, golfer, whatever physical activity that's out there, sometimes people find a whole new circle, a whole new world out there when they start running or they start biking or they start doing activities that that they love, and you'll find men who are now like connected with men who they would have never known if they never started biking, or you'll find women running together who they would have never known each other if they never ran together, and then they begin to go on trips together and do all these other different things, and it's like they created the circle out of an activity that they felt that they really enjoyed. And that's a powerful thing, because not only is it a motivator for you to stay active and for you to stay healthy, it's also it steps beyond our normal reach in life. The church, the work, the school, the social organizations. It takes you beyond, to a place that you never would have been, to experience people who you would never would have met. And that's a powerful thing. Never underestimate that. And another circle is, surrounded around life events. Being young and married, being a mom, losing a family member to cancer or something like that. You will find that when you tap into these circles around life events, you will find just, I think, a depth in life that you didn't even know that was there. And so, I have found as a mom, when I connect with someone who's a mom, we connect on just a completely different level. This is not about work. This is not about school. This is not about money. This is just about being a mom, and being able to relate to someone who's a mom is just so enlightening. It's so empowering, and you just can't underestimate that. I had a wonderful conversation today with someone, who's a mom, and just the struggles and like, how do you balance and how do you do this? And, and it's just very powerful to hear another woman say, it's hard. I can't do it. I struggle. And it's like, oh, me too. And you don't feel so alone in the world around these life events. So, I love connecting with people who are young and who who are married, who are going through the struggles of being newly married, and understanding like it's a process. And it's very easy for us to get caught up in our own world and feel like, woe is me, I'm the only person going through this. But when you begin to tap into those circles of people who are around you because of these life events, you begin to see that you're not alone. You're not by yourself. So that's why there are a lot of support groups for people who have lost family members to cancer or to suicide or to all those different kind of things. You need that support, because although you may have friends who are there for you and who support you, they don't understand what it's like to be in that space. And so sometimes you have to find people who are gone through what you've gone through and really can relate to what you're going through, and to really kind of heal a place that you're suppressed because you just feel like nobody understands. And so, I really encourage people who have been in the same city for a long time, people who are moving to new cities, and people who are kind of just in the middle, like me, who I think you're going to a place where you're really familiar, you know a lot of people, to really step outside of your comfort zone and understand, no, you may not need any new friends. I get it. We don't need to be picking up the phone and talking to people for hours and hours. But sometimes you do need circles of professional associates, personal associates or social associates, to really kind of help you maneuver and get through life. Like, life is hard enough as it is. But when you have, people who can kind of get in and dig down, dig deep and get the work done with you, it's well worth your time. So I encourage you to really follow your passions, make sure you're tapping into the circles of activities that you enjoy, and finding people who have similar life events that you have going on in your life, and to be encouraged and know that friendship may not be as strictly defined as we have defined it growing up, like, oh, this is my best friend and I talk to them every day. It's not like that anymore. At this age, I can call someone my friend who I just met a few weeks ago, who I may have spoken to once, and it's just in a casual, that's my friend, and I know that person, they're a good person, I've had a good experience with them. So don't be so, oh, I don't need any new friends. Don't come off with that attitude. Come off with, hey, if you are you have the same passions I have, you enjoy the same activities that I enjoy, or you're kind of going through the same life events that I'm going through, you're worth my time. And, I can learn from you just as much as you can learn from me. So create new circles while you're in new spaces, and, feel free to leave any comments if you have them at the end. Good night.